On paper, a movie about a kid defending his home from a couple of crooks doesn't sound like a Christmas classic, but Home Alone has become an annual favorite, infused with everything related to the holidays. But how well has the film aged? As kids, we laughed and cheered Kevin on as he outsmarted the Wet Bandits, but now that we're all grown up, we realize that there are a whole lot of things that don't make sense. Sure, we still love the movie, but there's a few nagging parts we just cannot get off our mind, including some baffling decisions from old Man Marley. Kevin's whole ordeal with being home alone could have been over in a couple of minutes if the cops portrayed in the film did a little more to do their job. Not only was poor Kate McAllister given the runaround on the phone, but the cop who showed up didn't do much more than knock on the front door. The official police decision on the case was to literally count her kids again. The cop didn't even walk around the house. A simple knock, shrug, and Kevin was on his own again. You can't blame Kevin though.
There's no one home. The house looks secure.
Harry posed as a cop in the beginning of the movie, and later on he shoplifted a toothbrush, turning him into a juvenile fugitive. And speaking of the toothbrush, why didn't the cops make a connection between the missing kid and a child who matched his description and was caught shoplifting all alone? We could spend all day comparing the film to modern times, but in this case, there would be Amber Alerts, lighting up phones, blasted over the TV and on every billboard in the Chicago area. We all see the Wet Bandits as the true villains of Home Alone, but their actions pale in comparison to some of the other adults in the movie. Seriously, the adults in Home Alone are pretty terrible people. There's the greedy Uncle Frank, who doesn't seem to have a compassionate bone in his body and would probably still blame Kevin for ruining his trip to Paris. And then there's Ed and Irene. Sure, we remember them as the kind old couple that gave Kate a plane ticket, but upon second glance, these two are the biggest crooks of them all. They don't deserve any praise. Let's not forget about the 2 first-class tickets they are getting to fly out the next day. Kate offered them $500, a pocket translator, a watch, a ring, and her earrings. Ed and Irene treat the whole thing like some flea market negotiation. We all hope that their first-class ride home was a guilt-ridden trip full of turbulence. When we first saw Home Alone, the movie felt like a nice family film that was there to provide pure entertainment. Well, now we wonder if the film made its budget before it even premiered due to the sheer amount of product placement sneakily tossed into the movie. Seriously, grab your favorite eggnog and take a shot every time you spot a product placement in Home Alone. You'll be full before you know it. There's the obvious ones like Fuller's Pepsi, the American Airlines tickets, the Colgate toothbrush. Grab a Blu-ray copy and dig deeper because the movie is filled with even more. There's the NBA, specifically the Chicago Bulls, a Santa who eats Tic Tacs, name drops them, and shares them with Kevin. Eesh. And we thought E.T. devouring so many Reese's Pieces was obvious. That delicious bowl of mac and cheese Kevin doesn't even get to have one bite of, brought to you by Kraft Mac and Cheese, and even discussed during the grocery store scene. Kevin decides to do some laundry, and nothing will do the trick like Tide. Buzz doesn't just read any dirty magazine. The film even put a product placement for Playboy magazine. In Home Alone, Kevin draws out his battle plan, setting traps in nearly every room of the home. Well, we don't need to talk about how long that would have taken to set up because we would just take a deep dive into an endless logic hole. But we do need to talk about the house that they live in. It's practically a mansion, with a separate 2-car garage, a decked out treehouse, and a finished attic that seems better than most studio apartments. This makes you wonder, how can the family afford this house? They have 5 kids, so the tax breaks must be nice, but Peter has to have some pretty big paying job. He just seems to toss money away like it's nothing. He upgrades the adults to first class and pays for all of these kids to travel to Paris in the first place. While connecting Peter to the Mafia is certainly a compelling story, one of the most popular Home Alone theories in recent years connects Kevin to Jigsaw from the horror franchise Saw. After seeing all the violence in Home Alone, it all kind of makes sense. The movie is basically a live-action cartoon, but there's a major difference when you're watching Wile E. Coyote blow himself up as opposed to an actual human getting his head set on fire. The craziest part with all the violence is the juxtaposition with Christmas. We're treated to so many classic Christmas songs and moments before Kevin tortures these crooks with stunts that would send anyone to hospital over and over again.
You guys give up, or you're thirsty for more?
We still cringe when Marv steps on that nail. Ugh, yikes. Guess nothing quite conveys Christmas like a paint can to the face. At the end of it all, the Wet Bandits are walking and talking, with the only loss coming in the form of Harry's gold tooth. Maybe instead of Jigsaw, Kevin actually grew up to be Dexter. The dude can truly clean a crime scene. Just a quick reminder to subscribe to ScreenRant, and don't forget to turn on notifications. Using your phone? Turn on notifications through YouTube settings. We know how stubborn YouTube can be, and with the comfort of ScreenRant, you'll never be home alone. As a kid, we all loved the exciting moment as the McAllisters burst through the airport while John Williams' iconic score plays in the background. As we grew up and started to travel, we realized how preposterous the whole scene was. In short, they would have missed their flight, picked up Kevin, and headed back to Paris a little later in the day.
There's no way on earth we're gonna make this plane. It leaves in 45 minutes.
Think positive, Frank.
You be positive, I'll be realistic.
Even in a world before 9/11, where airport security was completely revamped and shoe removal became a normal routine, there was no way they would have made the flight. With only 45 minutes to spare, the family all had to shuttle to the airport, check their baggage in, go through security, and make it to the gate on time. Thanks to some last-second movie logic, everything works out. Yeah! We still have to give them all credit for a nice touch added to the film. When the milk spills during the pizza dinner score, we see Peter toss out Kevin's ticket. Sorry, kid. It's the holidays, and Kevin needs advice. So who do we turn to? Santa Claus, of course. But we quickly learn this isn't the true Santa, just one of his special helpers. As a kid, it all makes sense and helps us connect the dots between the mall Santa we just saw and the one ringing the bell for the Salvation Army just a few blocks down. What kind of Santa Claus business is this? It's a small, tiny building with the S-Claus sign on the outside. No parade, no mall with a big display. This small house is purely just a Santa meet and greet. We have this business dedicated to providing the ultimate Santa experience, and they hire a guy with a fake beard and a guy in his early 30s at the most? What kind of sham is this? As kids, we truly didn't process the age and look of the guy, but we've had great uncles play a better Santa Claus than this supposed business. If you're gonna run a real Santa meet and greet, you're gonna need to get a guy with a real beard at least. Kevin McAllister may just be the smartest kid in movie history. Sorry, Matilda.
I made my family disappear.
Not only does he have the expertise to execute his battle plan, but he is a master at the VCR. Anyone who has had experience playing and controlling tapes knows how tough it is to actually pause and play scenes at the exact moment you want to. But we don't need to get into the remote logic of the dialogue he plays for the poor pizza guy. There are so many other parts of the scene that make little to no sense. The first, the audio. We all know Peter McAllister's deep pockets would have afforded the latest and greatest home entertainment system, but back in the 90s, no type of VCR could have output that's good enough to make voices or gunshots actually sound real. But the pizza guy fell for it. Just rushes out of there. And does what? Just continues his night delivering more pizza? Why didn't he contact authorities and say that he was shot up delivering a pie to the McAllisters? At least we got a classic quote out of it.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
In the beginning of Home Alone, Kevin thinks the excessive snow shoveler is a creep and terror, until he actually talks to the guy and changes his mind. Well, his initial assumptions were actually correct. Old Man Marley makes some extremely strange decisions. First, he intimidates Kevin at the drugstore, literally slamming his crimson red fist down in what we could only conclude was his bullying way to cut the line. Eventually, Old Man Marley befriends Kevin at the church, where he never questions why Kevin is out alone at night, or why every time he sees the boy, he is literally alone. We all cheered when Marley came to the rescue during the climactic moments of the movie, but after the Wet Bandits get arrested, he literally disappears. He doesn't tell the cops about Kevin and lets the young child go back to being home alone. What is Old Man Marley hiding? We all pretty much only count the first two Home Alone movies as the official canon, but we can no longer ignore what the sequels have done for the legacy of Home Alone. We have to wonder what Disney's plans are for an updated sequel when so many other Home Alone retreads have failed miserably. The worst part about one of these sequels? It still involves the character of Kevin, minus Macaulay Culkin, of course. We're talking about the made-for-television Home Alone 4, Taking Back the House. The film features a Kevin who has barely aged and may even be younger than the Home Alone 2 Kevin. Oh yeah, the loving McAllister parents? They're separated, with Peter now living with his super rich girlfriend. Yeah, years later, and they decided that the best way to return to the franchise was to break the family up. Oh yeah, there's only 3 kids now too. 2 of them were just cut right out of the family tree. Why would they go down this route? The characters barely look the same, there's no heart in the film, and we just cannot fathom why they just wouldn't tell the story with whole new characters. Okay, we all know that seems like a lot of problems, but we truly love the film, and we'll probably go watch it right now. Anyway, any other things that don't make sense? What's your favorite part of the movie? Are you looking forward to a remake? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to ScreenRant for more great content.